listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people peace, original people reciprocity, and original people positivity. The Narrative Podcast promotes positive reinforcement of original people and original people culture. The Narrative Podcast provides positive frames of reference about original people and original people culture. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Welcome all my narrators. I'm your host, Halsey Allen. How's everybody doing on this wonderful Wednesday? It's hump day. We're over the hump. Finna glide on into this weekend. September just got here and already it seems, like it's whizzing by. Seems like we're building up momentum for the holiday season. Got the, Halloween stuff out already. Halloween and Thanksgiving stuff out already, pardon me. That's crazy. The Thanksgiving stuff out already. But Halloween stuff and the Thanksgiving stuff. Then in October, the Christmas stuff is going to come the second week of October. But anyway, welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Got a pretty good show for you this evening. So my normal listeners I refer to as my narrators. They already know the demonstration. You already know the type of content and types of things I'll be discussing on the platform. But for the new listeners, everybody else unfamiliar with me and my platform, what I do is just give a brief synopsis of the Narrative Podcast before diving into the content so you can have full context about what it is you're listening to. So having said that, I'm going to dive right on into the synopsis of the Narrative Podcast. I keep on jumping ahead of myself. So I've changed my format. Usually I dive into the synopsis and then do my promo towards the end, but I switched things. I just found this more convenient. I'm going to plug all my projects that I got going on right now. Then I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Narrative Podcast and then dive into the content this evening. So let's start at the top. The first thing I want to plug, obviously, is the platform itself, the Narrative Podcast. You want to download this episode and all recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast. And so how you do that basically is follow me on YouTube and X, formerly Twitter. And the reason why you want to follow me on those two mediums is because this platform that I'm recording on automatically uploads to YouTube and Twitter. So therefore, you'll be up to date with the most recent episode of the Narrative Podcast if you follow me on Twitter and YouTube. So to follow me on YouTube, my viewer page is Halsey Allen. And of course, with YouTube, you want to subscribe to my channel, Halsey Allen on YouTube. Click the subscribe button. And then click that bell notification and then click notification all, and you will be notified every single time an episode of the Narrative Podcast is uploaded. Now, this is my viewer page. I don't have a page designated exclusively for the Narrative Podcast. So like right after I'm done recording, it goes to my viewer page. And what you want to do to listen to the Narrative Podcast episodes is go into my videos, and my videos are set to public, so you should be able to access them and you will see the newest episode of the Narrative Podcast. And then you also, of course, on YouTube, you want to hit that like button, the thumbs up button, and then you want to leave a comment on the episode, whatever episode you're listening to. And then you want to share episodes of the Narrative Podcast across all platforms, whatever platform that you like to share things to. Share episodes of the Narrative Podcast so wherever you want to share it. That's the directions how to support when you're following me on YouTube. Now for X, it's slightly different. Because on X, what you're going to see is just the link to the Narrative Podcast. So when you follow me on X, I'm Halsey Allen on X. I stay good at Halsey Allen, actually. And then when you see, a Narrative Podcast link, you click on that, and it'll take you right to the most current episode. And then once you're on the Narrative Podcast, and it should be a picture of a microphone that says Narrative Podcast. That's my logo. And then click on that, and then you should take you right to the episode. Then click on the heart button on the logo once you're there, and then you should, when it pops up, you should see an arrow pointing downwards. That's the download button. And so you want to click that to download the episode of the Narrative Podcast. And then next to the download button is a heart-shaped like button. Click the heart-shaped like button. Then next to that is the box. Leave me a comment in the comment box. And then, of course, share episodes from the Narrative Podcast to whatever platform that you like to share things to, whatever's most convenient, whatever platform is most convenient for you to share episodes of the Narrative Podcast. Share them to them. I would just ask my visual content creators, people that have, Facebook Live, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, whatever, the way you guys can support, any platform that you have a camera in front of you that you're recording on a visual platform, you probably will want to shout out, the Narrative Podcast, for the algorithm, for the hits and everything. I would really appreciate that. That'd mean a great deal for the platform. So please, all those, download button, like, comment, share. That's the directions when you're following me on X. When you're following me on YouTube, subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell. Click notification button all. Like episodes of the Narrative Podcast. Hit the thumbs up button. Comment in the comment section, and then share episodes of the Narrative Podcast on whatever medium that you want to share it to. And those are the directions when you follow me on YouTube. So follow me on either of those two mediums, and you will be informed on the latest episode of, or you'll be notified, pardon me, that was the word I was looking for. You'll be notified on the latest episode of the Narrative Podcast, wherever you get your podcast information from. So, yeah. Next thing I would like to promote is my book of poetry that I've written. I've written a book of poetry titled The Black Card, and the Black Card is available for purchase on poetizer.com. So to purchase the Black Card, go to poetizer.com. Poetizer.com has a virtual online bookstore. Go to the virtual online bookstore on poetizer.com and look for my book title, The Black Card, written by me, Halsey Allen, and then purchase it. The Black Card is a 30-page book of poetry chronicling and detailing all the experiences, encompassing and engulfing our people, what it means to be black, all the nuances of our culture, everything we experience as a people, positive and negative, and just a whole lot of unspoken truths. So if you're an original man or original woman, you'll automatically be able to identify and connect with all 30 poems in the Black Card. Now, people outside of our culture, you can purchase the Black Card too. If you are open-minded and consider yourself progressive and a person that wants to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem, this is a good book for you. It's a good learning tool. It's a good, reference tool to connect with your black friends, black colleagues, associates, family members, and, be informed. So it's a great learning tool for people outside of our culture. You can read the poems to your children and just kind of get a sense of who we are, what we experience on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, go purchase the Black Card. So like I said, go to poetizer.com. They got a virtual online bookstore. Go to the virtual online bookstore and look for my title, The Black Card. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Poetizer, Poetizer basically is a social media platform for writers. It caters to writers that's, write in all different genres of writing. People that write novels, people that write essays, people that write short stories, and of course poets. They cater specifically towards poets. It's in the name, it's implied in the name, Poetizer. But basically it's a social media platform for writers. They can interact with one another, they can share their work. There's all types of different rooms with writing prompts for people from different genres of writing. So the people that do the short stories, they go to the short story room and the daily writing prompt for people that, write short stories, write a short story about your dog. People that write novels, they have a writing prompt and they give you some characters and the plot and, write a however many page story about XYZ. And then for poets, their writing prompt would be write a poetry about a bird, or write a poem about a bird or something like that. But that's what the social media platform is about. They can connect with each other, interact with each other, share their work, critique one another. So it's a real good safe space for aspiring writers. They also, of course, have a self-publishing feature for writers. So they offer the same self-publishing as Kindle and Amazon. You can do everything, illustrate, edit, market, deliver, all that, distribution. They do all that for fixed price. And it's really good because, it's very cost effective to write a book. You can write a functional piece of literature for under $1,000 on poetizer.com. So that's what poetizer.com is. But go there, look for my book, The Black Card, written by me, Halsey Allen, and purchase it today. purchase the black card today or get your black card revoked. And then the last thing I want to plug before diving into the synopsis of the Narrator podcast is my personal poetry blog on blogger.com. It's called Hawes's Poetry Corner. And the link to Hawes's Poetry Corner is www.mrhawesblogs.com. Hawes's Poetry Corner is just basically a creative space for me. It's an amalgamation of poems that I spontaneously write in the moment, ranging from a wide array of topics. Another unique thing about my poems are that they're so diverse and relatable. It's really almost kind of misleading because just how dynamic the poems featured on Hawes's Poetry Corner are. They're so detailed, so specific, so intricate. You would be under the impression that I set up here and planned them out really thoroughly, but I didn't. I legit wrote all the poems featured on Hawes's Poetry Corner in the moment. Like I didn't, premeditate what each piece was going to be about. I didn't think about what to title each piece, how to construct it. Like none of it, just like literally legit just came out and finished product entered my mind and I blogged it. So that's the type of poetry you will be reading when you visit my blog site on blogger.com. So like I said, all my poetry is versatile. You're guaranteed to gravitate towards a poem you can relate to. Many different subjects, many different themes. They all have a unique flow to them. And another unique thing about them, like they're for everybody to enjoy, like any walk of life, whatever you're going through or experiencing at whatever phase of life you're in. You can definitely appreciate a poem posted on that poetry blog. Now I do have poems specifically for my community, original people community, but for the most part, the poems posted on Hawes's Poetry Corner is for everybody. And how you can support that is by visiting Hawes's Poetry Corner on blogger.com at www.mrhawesblogs.com. You can share the link to Hawes's Poetry Corner or a poem featured on Hawes's Poetry Corner across all platforms. And then also, of course, you want to hit the like button when you get to Hawes's Poetry Corner, and that's a little in the shape of a heart. So click on the little heart to like a poem. And then each poem at the bottom of it also has a comment box. You can write something in the comment box when you get there. And then also share poems from Hawes's Poetry Corner across all platforms. Either the link to Hawes's Poetry Corner or a poem featured on Hawes's Poetry Corner. And then, of course, for the visual content creators, YouTubers, TikTokers, Twitchers, anybody that, posts content using a camera, you probably want to shout out Hawes's Poetry Corner for the algorithm. A poem that you liked or just the blog in general. And that'd be greatly appreciated, because I just, I funnel all, earnings back into this platform to give the listener a better experience. And then also on the blog site to give you a better experience. Now, I just want to put out one thing, when you get to the link, it'll probably say unsecure connection or whatever. You will get that but don't be turned off by that. Nobody's gonna steal your password or none of that weird stuff. I don't know why the site's like that, but it says that when you click on the link. But don't let that deter you from reading those incredible poems. I guarantee you your VPN's probably like 110% safe. So, go check the poems out today. Halsey's Poetry Corner, and I even have a tagline for my poetry blog. Halsey's Poetry Corner, poetry with a passion, poetry for all occasions. And when you read one of them, you will see that, each piece lives up to that tagline. Check it out today. All right. So now I'm going to walk you through the synopsis of the Narrator Podcast before diving into the content. So let's start at the top. Tippy the name, the Narrative Podcast. I named my podcast the Narrative Podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original people culture. So what I wanted to do to counter the media's inaccurate, false, divisive way they depict our images and our likenesses is to create a platform where I'm showcasing and highlighting us at our best, celebrating our accomplishments, and sharing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture to counter the negative frames of reference that the media provides people outside of our culture and within our culture across all media platforms about our people and our culture, and all the frames of reference that they provide are negative. Now I think that's a perfect segue to my tagline, the Narrative Podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative stereotypes about original people and original people culture. How do I destroy the negative stereotypes about our people and our culture? By providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. And that's entirely what the Narrative Podcast is all about. I'm providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. I also, bring awareness to why it's important to responsibly utilize your platforms to share positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, and encourage the listening audience to responsibly utilize their platforms to share positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. So in essence, when we share positive frames of reference about our people or our culture, we can, to some capacity, change the narrative. Hence the title, The Narrative Podcast. So now another key point for listening to the Narrative Podcast, I refer to my target listening audience as my narrators. And when I'm calling you my narrators, what I mean by that is just really acknowledging the times that we're living in. We're living in a unique time where we can tell or narrate our own stories. We're living in the digital information age. We access information online. We share everything digitally. We gather information. We socially interact with one another. We sell things. You name it, it's probably done online. And the key point, when you have a digital space, usually all digital spaces have a bio section. In the bio section, the person's page that it is, they usually, tell their hobbies, their interests, and, whatever they're into, their turn-ons, their turn-offs, and then they upload content that's reflective of what they're posting online. And generally, typically, the content is the best visual representation of whatever they write in their bio section. So they're in essence telling or narrating their own story. So whatever you're interested in online, say I'm a car buff. I like cars. So like in my bio section, I'm like, I do them cars or whatever blah, 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 whatever. And then I'm gonna upload pictures of cars, the best, cleanest cars you can think of, exotic whips, probably like me at a car show, me entering one of my cars at a car show, or just on a regular day, like washing my car or whatever, whatever is reflective of what I wrote in the bio section, which is cars. I'm going to upload the best visual content to accentuate what I wrote in the bio section. So what I'm saying is, as a people, we need to tell or narrate our own stories by sharing the best possible visual representations of us as a people, showing us, more organically rooted to our true natures as a people. And what is our true natures as a people? Kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universe. So we need to be uploading content, that is reflective of that. We need to be uploading content that is reflective of us having good family structure. Us being good family units. Us taking care of ourselves, taking care of our bodies, hygienically and physically. The best possible visual representations of us financially doing well, educationally excelling in academia, or us ourselves, or somebody in your family, somebody in your community excelling academically, business wise, having your own, either owning your own business or proudly working your 9-to-5 job, excelling in your 9-to-5 job, whatever your 9-to-5 job is, being prideful in that, carrying yourself with pride, navigating through life with a sense of urgency, being dutiful, being responsible, being respectable to people, yourselves and your communities. That's the type of visual representation we need to visually represent our people, not embrace these visual representation of our people and our culture that the media places over us. These negative stereotypes and stigmas that the media places over us. We don't need to, embrace it by regurgitating gang culture online. We get regurgitating pimp culture, whore culture, thought culture. Embracing these negative stereotypes of the gangbanger, of the criminal, of the absent father, overly aggressive, angry black man. We don't need to be regurgitating those. Sisters, you don't need to be regurgitating the visual images of the angry black woman, or the overly sexualized black women, or things of that nature. We don't need to be regurgitating these negative stereotypes and stigmas about our people and our culture by sharing that type of content. We need to be sharing the type of content about our people and our culture, you know, the positive side of it. Like, negative things do happen in our culture. Negative things happen in everybody's culture, but we don't need to like glorify it by sharing those types of stories online. I mean, you can post whatever you want to on your platform, on, you know, your Facebook, your Instagram, whatever. But just know, people outside of our culture, they look at that and they take that as the gospel truth about all of us. That's how we are as a people, because that's, you know, they're only given negative frames of reference about our people and our culture. So therefore, they automatically just think, you know, that's the truth about all of this. But anyway, that's why I refer to my target listening audience as my narrators, and simply put, what I mean by, you know, what I say when I calling you my narrators is just simply to tell or narrate our own stories. Because if history hasn't taught us anything, it's taught us this: if you don't tell or narrate your own story will be told for you. And that's precisely what the media has been doing all since it's been existing, even before television, before radio. They was doing it like in all forms of media, newspapers, advertisements, you know. However, they got the word out, you know, back in the early turn of the century. They have been corrupting our images and our likenesses. So yeah, that's why I call my target listening audience my narrators. Next thing I want to touch on, the Narrator podcast is a positive space. It's a positive space, safe space for original people. It's just a place to, you know, it's a feel-good space. It's an empowerment space. It's a pride space. We can feel proud of us, proud of our accomplishments, proud of our achievements. You know, that's the type of energy that I'm trying to project with my platform. I don't engage in the nonsense and the gossip and the name calling and the slandering. I'm just here to project positive vibes about our people and our culture, and encourage anybody that listens to my platform to seek the truth out about our people, and just be aware, you know, what you're probably witnessing in all forms of media is a form of propaganda. You know, most of it's just not true. It's just like negative stereotypes and stigmas. So seek the truth. Be aware of the truth about who we really are, what we're capable of. And, you know, that's what the Narrative podcast, you know, the tone that I'm setting. It's basically, like I said, a safe space for our people. I try to really discourage against slander and gossip, because slander and gossip and name calling and denigrating each other, that's destroying our community. Faceless corporations legit make on an upward like millions, totaling into the billions a year, of us being messy online, going at each other, airing out our dirty laundry. Yeah. So I don't want to I don't want to help line their pockets by jumping into the fray. And I'm trying to encourage my listening audience to do the same, not, make them suckers more money, get them rich off of exploiting our pain, off of exploiting our trauma. So, I try to keep this space as positive as possible. I do speak about current issues. So I deliver commentary on current issues, like whatever's, happening in the world, either nationally, globally, or just stuff in our community. But no, if I ever bring up a famous person's name, I'm just, I'm breaking it down from our perspective, and everything that I touch on, I just really break it down from the bigger picture perspective. So not saying our people are saints. We do have, problems in our community. We have our own in-house issues that we need to work on. All about self-accountability, but it's a fine line when it comes to our people with taking accountability. It's like, the go-to answer for any negative thing that happens in our community. We need to do better, and it's always we need to do better. They need to, take accountability. They need to do better. We need to do better. Our people need to do better. The people that's literally had everything done to them. But, the go-to answer anytime we're engaged in something negative, do better. So, said all that to say, usually I cover commentary from the perspective of the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is usually anything negative happening in our community, and somebody from our community, whether it just be a regular person or a celebrity, usually what's at play when they're involved in negative activity or something negative, is surrounding them, their name in the headline. It's usually, you can trace it back to systemic oppression. And then you can also trace it back to psychological programming and conditioning. They psychologically program us and condition us with the media. They fear program us. They trauma condition us. So like, how do you expect for us to act when you're doing all this stuff to us? They medically experimented on us. They socially experimented on us. They've done everything they can do to possibly break us and destroy us. They invented the penal system just for us. Jim Crow laws, like legit prisons were made, on the premise of locking all of us up. Then not to mention the welfare system, not to mention, all these public resources. You see, they tricked us out of, we once owned everything. They tricked us out of relinquishing our ownership, and then, finessed us into being dependent upon them. You see, and then they just keep on pushing the starting line back for our people, and then they wonder why we react that way, why we behave that way, why our mentality is, polluted. It's because you guys polluted our mentality. You forced us to deviate from our true nature. So you knew exactly what you was doing. So anytime something negative is happening within our community, you can usually trace it back to psychological programming and conditioning and systemic oppression. So anytime when I'm discussing, current events, or mention a famous person's name within our community, if they're going through something, that's basically how I try to, frame it up from that perspective. It's never to, take shots at them, take cheap shots at them, drag them through the mud, single them out, or nothing like that. It's just basically breaking down what's at play, And the reason why I even do, commentary is just basically to create the narrative. And then, like, why would I want to create the narrative? Because, the media have us, looking a certain way. They have us looking and sounding crazy. So by me writing our own narrative, by uncovering, current events, breaking it down from our perspective, I'm reclaiming our power. You know what I mean? I'm just breaking it down and putting it in terms, we can understand, and what's at play, and who's the real villain in that situation, and just trying to broaden people's horizons and offer a fresh insight to whatever the person's going through at their time. Now, having said that, the Narrator Podcast is also a place of truth. Now, I do tell the truth on here, and I don't sugarcoat the truth. If somebody in our community is, intentionally, embracing negative stereotypes or trying to capitalize on negative stereotypes and stigmas about our people for monetary gain, like knowing what they're doing, I will call said individual out. So, like, if you just, like, I don't know, if an ad company paid you some money, you're a celebrity, they paid you some money to eat fried chicken and drink grape soda, smoking on a Black and Mild, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, stuff like that, I gotta call it out. But other than that, this is a positive space. Like I said, I don't indulge or engage in gossip. I try to keep it as positive as possible. And yeah. Next thing you should be aware of, the Narrator Podcast is a time-sensitive platform. I try not to exceed 1 hour per broadcast. And the purpose of me doing that is basically to keep the listening audience captivated, or to captivate the listening audience and keep them attentive, and keep them focused on the subject matter that I'm presenting to them. It's an all audio platform, so it's real easy to get distracted. It's real easy to tune somebody out, and the fastest way for that to get even quicker is just basically to not have a point and to just drone on and be redundant and repetitive. So I try to keep it fresh and exciting and informative and entertaining at the same time. So, like, all content creators. So to aid me in my quest, I try to just keep it short, sweet, brief, and to the point. So, not saying I don't believe I'm a boring person. I think I'm real, like, witty and informative and funny and all that. But, I got some really good, interesting stories. But, I don't believe I'm at that level yet in my life and my journey where I can just talk and keep you on the edge of your seat. Now, some people, they are, superior storytellers, and they can, talk and, you want to listen to, certain people talk for 2 to 3 hours at a time. I'm not one of them. I don't enjoy talking to, 2 or 3 hours at a time. So I try to keep my content short, brief, and to the point. So that's why I try not to exceed 1 hour per broadcast. And then last but not least, my last point I want to make before diving into the content is that I refer to our people as original people here on this platform, as opposed to being black. And my methodology behind that is just really to acknowledge the historical accuracy of the term, and then also in an attempt to unify us as a people by like coining a universal term that, you know, relates to all of us from all walks of life. So what do I mean by historically accurate? We were and are the original people of this planet who was here first, thousands of years before anybody else. We pretty much invented all modern day conveniences. Any modern day convenience you can think of can be traced back to our lineage, like an ancient version of it. Not only that, we was the original everything. We were the original educators. We were the original philosophers. We were the original astronomers, astrologers. We were the original scientists, mathematicians. We were the original architects, biologists, chemists. We are the original keepers of time. We was everything. Before anything existed, we existed. Before anything was, we was. We was here. We was the original everything. So that's what I mean from the historical point about referring to our people as original. Now, a sub point that I want to tack on to, you know, the historical accuracy of why I refer to our people as original is just something I do each segment. It just kind of enlighten the listening audience about the false narrative about slavery. Seems the powers that shouldn't be try to make slavery the most poignant, relevant time of our existence. So like I just said, we were here long before any other civilization you can think of. And if we was here first, do you think, just logically, we was all huddled in one place? We wasn't. We was scattered out all about. We left that point of origin on our own free will, thousands of years before a human being conceived in their pea-brain mind to enslave other people, to lock other people up, deprive other people of their basic human rights. We existed thousands of years before the notion of slavery. So having said that, they push this slave narrative about our people. You know, they try to make that the most important part of our history. So while slavery was real, slavery did exist. We weren't all products of, you know, slave boats. We didn't get to wherever we was at, wherever we was located in the world on a slave boat, especially here in the Americas. Like the majority of us was already here. And the reason why they want to push that slave narrative and feed us false information about slavery is really a form of fear mongering. They want to, accentuate the notion of us being powerless, us being fearful, that we can't say and do anything, having our will, taken from us and breaking us down physically and psychologically and torturing us. Like, that's what they want to push about our people, that we was, in the wild, savages, and they, saved us with slavery. They reformed us using slavery. And that's just, it's false. Like, we mothered and fathered civilization. We taught all civilizations how to survive, how to think. We invented religion and spirituality. But, as, the historians record history, that's why they call it his story. They try to make it seem like we was, the lowest of the low. That we was so weak. We allowed other people to just enslave us. We didn't try to get away. We didn't try to empower ourselves. And, we resisted all throughout slavery. Anywhere our people was enslaved at in any part of the world, believe me, we bought the smoke. It was an uprising. And we made a whole lot of them pay for it and regret the day they enslaved us. So, history will lead us to believe we only had one Nat Turner. We only had one Harriet Tubman. When in reality, we had thousands of Nat Turners. We had thousands of Harriet Tubmans. So, they just feed us a lot of false narratives about slavery, like the slave ships, and they just kept on going to Africa for hundreds of years, getting hundreds of slaves, and that don't even make sense when you just, sit back and think about, how many people can actually fit on the ship. Because that's how we got, in early civilization, that was the main mode of transportation. Like, that don't even make sense. Because the crew ain't even, like, you going out, you get paid to go get 200 to 300. You're only bringing back like 40 to 60. Only 40 to 60 is surviving the trip. So what makes more sense is that the early explorers most likely enslaved the indigenous original people of the lands that they explored. That's what most likely happened in early civilization as far as the slave trade goes. It wasn't just sailing back to Africa, getting people from Africa for hundreds of years. And then so lastly, why I refer to our people as original people is to unify us as a people. I feel like that's a universal term to classify us as a people. It's empowering, it's impactful to say you're original, because nothing usually surpasses the original copy. Like, the original copy is usually the most important. The original copy is the blueprint, is, the mold from which every other thing is created from. You have to have a first to look at it and say, okay, this didn't work, that didn't work. But the original was first. So it's empowering, referring to yourself as original. And then, like, again, there are so many different types of us, hailing from so many different land masses, referring to ourselves as so many different things. But, with all those differences we have each other as a people, some common things we have in common are, we are original. We can all trace our lineage back to the original point of origin for all civilization. We all possess high concentrations of carbon, aka melanin. And then we also originally just have, DNA coded nuances about ourselves. We all just carry ourselves with a certain dignity. We all, carry ourselves with that just inner regal spirit. We all have an unspoken bond. We're all rebelling against, an oppressive government or regime somewhere. We're all fighting the same enemy, just in a different way. So I can connect with your experience. I might not have never been to, Jamaica, but if I go there as an original man, when I see how people that don't look like you are treating you a certain way, and I go there, I'm not from the islands, but they're going to treat me how they treat you, and then vice versa when you come to America. And then, like, with all nationalities, with all people that look like us, we all endure that same thing. So we can all connect with each other in that same, on that same mental space. So, like, we got that unspoken bond. I know what that is when I see you. You know what it is when you see me. And then more to the point, like, people outside of our culture, they don't classify you as your nationality. They see you an Asian person and be like, you black. Italian person see you, they say, oh, the black guy. Irish person, you're black. You know what I mean? Anybody outside of your culture, you're just black to them. But we, as a people, we're the only ones that self-identify and classify ourselves as whatever, as, Nigerian, or as, Trini, as, Islander, whatever. Anything but what you are, original people, or black, as they refer to us as. So, said all that to say, referring to ourselves as original people, that's a good universal, code to describe us as a people. Now, you can have your own individual identity, your own individual lineage, but universally, we're original. Just like as universally, we're regarded as black. So, it works on so many levels. So on this platform, I refer to our people as original people as opposed to black. Now you're all caught up with all the nuances of the Narrator podcast. And if you're missing anything, I'm well over 300 episodes in. Go through my episodes log to bring yourself up to speed if you're just, lost in the sauce or, scratching your head still. But I'm going to dive right on into this content this evening on this weekday edition of the Narrator podcast. Starting with my first section. This section is called the highlight section. Pardon me, wrong format. This is the weekday edition. That's the format from my weekend edition. But run that back. So the first section I'm starting off is positive news articles. Now this section is important because it's my mission statement is to provide positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. So the positive frame of reference that I'm providing about our people and our culture during the weekday comes in the form of news articles. And I use positive news articles for the positive frame of reference because we're constantly being bombarded during the weekday with negative news in all forms of media. We're being bombarded with negativity in the music, negativity in movies, television shows, advertisements, literature, you name it. All forms of media negatively depict our images and our likenesses in this kind of you can't unsee it, you can't unhear it. Yes, you can, on an individual basis, choose to, what you allow into your mind on an individual basis, but like collectively as a whole, it affects us. Because if, say like, if you're like a granola natural type person, you might be like, okay, I don't watch TV at all. I don't even own a television. I don't own a television. I don't own a cell phone. I don't subscribe to those images, those negative stereotypes. Cool, that's a good personal choice for you. But you would still be affected because you would have to interact with your sister or your brother that does watch television and does, use a mobile device or have a tablet or a laptop, and their mental mind state is different than yours. Their mental mind state has been weakened and altered by this constant bombardment of negativity coming through the airwaves. Imagery, disturbing imagery that you can't unsee. And like I said, it's intentionally done. It's psychological warfare. So in an effort to undo this psychological programming and conditioning, I provide the listening audience with positive frames of references about our people and our culture via positive news articles. I'm putting out the positive frame of reference that positive things happen in our community so that we can overcome in the face of adversity. We do, excel and lead in all industries. We're progressing academically and sounding off and leading the charge in civilization. And that's why I do positive news articles, just to share that positive frame of reference, that positive things happen in our community, because the mainstream media will have you believing with the frames of reference that they're providing about our people and our culture that, we're always in turmoil, we're always in strife, we're always disenfranchised, we're always on the, short end of the stick. So now that what the positive news articles are symbolic of, I'm going to dive on into my first positive news article on this weekday edition of the Narrator podcast. So my very first positive news article today, the headline reads, "Driver saves student moments before bus catches fire." And the bus driver's name is, I hope I'm saying her name right, Immunique Williams, Imunek Williams. And here's the kicker. She was pregnant at the time of the fire. This happened in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So what happened was she was on her normal route to pick the children up at approximately like 8 a.m. And then the smell of smoke kind of set in. She didn't quite know what it was at first. She probably just, thought it was something routine happening with the bus. And then, of course, when you smell fire in a vehicle, a large vehicle like that, you know what a fire smells like. So, her training kicked in as a bus driver, because they train the bus drivers, to downsize the bus in times like this. So that's tremendous that she was able to keep her composure in that situation, especially with small children, keeping them calm and safely escorting them off the bus before, the bus ultimately got engulfed in flames. So, the higher power was definitely at work that day too, whatever you refer to the higher power as, whether it's Allah, Jesus, God, source, vibrational energy, whatever you're into. It was definitely at place that day too, but she had the divine insight to do what she needed to do to get herself to safety and the children on the bus to safety as well. And she was pregnant at the time, so of course they took her as a precautionary measure to examine her to see was she straight. So I read like 4 or 5 sources. I couldn't find anything that says what was the source of the fire, why did the bus erupt into flames, but thankfully everybody got to safety, and she is a hero, a shero. She's a shero. So yeah, that's definitely a positive news article worth sharing to kick things off with this edition of the Narrator Podcast. So join me into giving our sister Unique Williams a warm narrative podcast round of applause. I think I'm saying her name wrong, but yeah, let me go check. So yeah, I pulled up the video clip. The sister's name is I'm Unique Williams. All right, next positive news article this week on the Narrator Podcast. The headline reads, Black entrepreneur who started out with only $1,000 raised $5.9 million for her software program. And the sister's name is Candace Mitchell. Candace is the CEO of Myavana. Myavana is a hair care platform that uses sophisticated software to connect her clients with specific hair care. I don't know how else to say it. Basically, like it's a hair care community. So how it works is you go and like to the I believe it's an app. Also, you go to myavana.com. You upload a picture of your hair. You take pictures of your hair, and they like tell you your hair type based on the picture that you sent them. They like provide you with the types of the best. It's basically like a so you don't have to. We do it so you don't have to site. They give you the best possible resources to keep your hair, upkeep and maintain your hair. They suggest the best possible products for your hair, give you tutorials, plug you with hair care technicians, all kinds of stuff. They also give you knowledge, natural remedies you can use and incorporate. So they basically educate, analyze, and consult to give you, your best possible outcome with what you want for your hair, like whatever your hair goals are, to grow it out, whatever, hairstyle you're trying to maintain. They'll help you with that. Go check that out. And again, her company's called Myavana. 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 It's basically a play on words like my nirvana. Like nirvana is a state of tranquility. So she basically wants you to be, your hair care journey to be tranquil. And so that's what her company's all about, to provide you with, tranquility for your hair care journey. So check her out at myavana.com. And our sister's name again is Candace Mitchell. Let's give a warm Narrative Podcast round of applause to Candace Mitchell and Myavana. All right. Next up, the next positive news article of the evening. The headline reads, Black-owned restaurant brings Chinese takeout to West Philadelphia. And this is a brand new restaurant. They just launched this month, or not this month, September. They just launched in August. The grand opening day was the 29th. And the restaurant's called Black Dragon. And the proprietor of this establishment is Chef Kurt Evan. Now the article didn't, list his, background, where he got his training from. Like, I don't know if he's actually trained chef, but definitely a culinarian for sure. So basically it's a fusion restaurant. They fuse American Chinese, because actual Chinese don't be eating that stuff in Chinese restaurants. But anyway, so they fuse American Chinese with American soul food. So there's classic plays on soul food plays on Chinese staples, like General Tso's chicken. On their menu is Roscoe's chicken. So General Roscoe's chicken instead of General Tso. They also have sweet potato stuffed dumplings. As for the pot stickers, instead of pork, they use sweet potato. They got collard green stuffed egg rolls. It's just a whole lot of nuances. So their chicken wings don't taste like Chinese takeout chicken wings. They taste like if your mom would have fried them. I'm guessing. I don't eat meat, but from when I visited the site and read through the menu, I'm getting those type of vibes. Like I said, it's a fusion restaurant. They fuse, American Chinese with American soul food. So it's a whole lot of jerk and oxtails and collard greens and all that, and yams, mac and cheese, baked mac and cheese. So they just mesh and meld and just found a way to make it work, and it works some type of way. So you definitely can't call it cultural appropriation, because like I said, we're original people. We originated everything, and a lot of Asian cuisine was inspired from our people when our GIs went over to Korea and other parts of Asia, China and stuff. So like, when they came over, you know, during you know, when they was working on the railroads, they was interacting with our people and you know, incorporating our cuisine into their cuisine as well. So, you know, you can never say that's cultural appropriation to have a black Chinese food, you know, spot. But anyway, go check them out at blackdragon.com, or if you're in Philadelphia, go visit them at 5260 Rodman, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at 19143, and call 267-292-2905. And once again, the name of the restaurant is Black Dragon, and the proprietor's name is Kurt Evan. Kurt with a K, not a C. So let's join me in giving our brother Kurt Evan a warm narrative round of applause for his culinary, epicurious, inventive menu of Black Dragon. All right, last positive news article of this evening. The headline reads, meet the siblings running Georgia's oldest, most experienced black-owned plumbing company. They've been around since 1982, and the proprietors of this plumbing company are a sibling duo, Khadijah and Odari Head, and the name of the company is called Head's Plumbing. Now, they're fourth generation proprietors of the company. Their grandfather started the business in 1982, and they're the fourth generation. And what's unique about them, not only is it you know, a family owned and operated business, it's a black owned business that services the community, meaning they hire their own. Anybody that needs the job, no experience required, they will train you. So, you know, this is why it's important to have these vocational training skills, because when that man won't hire you, you can make your own work. So like, it's important to have skills like plumbing. It's important to have skills like brick masonry. It's important to have skills like welding, drywalling, carpentry. And these are industries where you don't have to really worry about AI. You know, like an AI robot, they're not going to, you know, they're not going to put that finesse on it. They're not going to give it that human touch. So it is possible that AI can perform those types of jobs, but that human soul, connecting with the people, you're not never going to replicate that. So like I said, you know, they've been in business in that area servicing the community since 1982. The brother and sister duo are fourth generation. They also are training their own children to work for the company. They had a fleet of trucks. So what they specialize is in is customer service, obviously. And then I want to, you know, correct myself. I've been saying 1982. It was established in 81. But still over 40 years of it in business. When you go to their website, you will see a picture of their the originators of the company, Generation 1, and then brother and sister who are running the business now, they're Generation 4. So their goal is to make a lasting impression with you, build a good rapport with you, which is something I think, these days is kind of lacking in businesses like that, especially with a whole lot of these commercial brands, these commercial contractors. They want to get personal with the people and try to get you your best deal. So they offer financing, repairs, IRA deductible tax credit, high-end upgrades, proactive solutions, and just basically making it budget friendly, making it affordable, and so basically you can pay it off in installments or all at once. So whatever you choose, go to headsplumbers.com, headsplumbing.com, not plumbers, plumbing. And their physical address is 434 Compellings Road, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia. Telephone number 404-696-3175. And if you have direct questions, go ask Adari Head at headsplumbing.com. They also advertise on Facebook, so check them out. There's over 100 years of plumbing experience. Go patronize that company, and let's put them together. Let's give a warm narrative podcast round of applause to our sister Khadijah and our brother Odari Head for the Heads Plumbing Service in Atlanta, Georgia. All right. So moving on to my last section of this evening. This section is called my current events section. I call it my speaking point section. And what I'm talking about in my speaking point section is current events. And basically, what it is it's a commentary section. And the reason why I'm doing it is just I'm covering whatever's going on in the world from our perspective, because the media have this, looking and sounding crazy. So I'm breaking it down, whatever the situation is, what that means for our people, from our perspective. And as well as just injecting a little bit of my own personality into it as well, making it semi-entertaining for the listener. So without any further ado, I only got one thing that I briefly want to touch on this evening, and then I'm gonna get on up out of here. So just recently, Africa has officially announced digital ID. So they say they're hoping to implement it by December. And if you're not you're not up to the speed with digital ID, it's basically like getting chipped. So Africa is about to push the chip. And the chip is government tracking you through your skin, through your you're going to insert a microchip in you. So that's they say it's going to be in place of your birth certificate, your birth records, your social, you'll be tracked and monitored through your chip. So I don't even got to tell you the ramifications of that. So, like, as the old saying goes, it has begun. And it started where everything started, Africa. You know, they also try to, currently what's going on now is the monkeypox. Before the monkeypox, or mpox as it's called, before the monkeypox, AIDS virus, they try to say the AIDS virus started there. Try to say an African had sex with a monkey using propaganda. They done been living in the jungle thousands of years. Now all of a sudden they humping on monkeys. Come on, man. But so they're trying to use it as the beta test the product. And they're just their government seemingly just going along with it, and the people don't seem to be outraged by it. Like, China's presence is still heavily, dominating in China as well. I mean, in Africa as well. China's presence over there, they're still over there in like large numbers. They have like dwindled since the mpox outbreak. Like a whole lot of them's going back, trying to get the hell out of Dodge. But for the most part, it's just like so many scenarios of like where this is going. It's already like Big Brother is already watching. So your device is like, it has, cameras built in, your microphone's on. So even when you think you're not, when you're just by yourself talking to yourself, the microphone in your device is picking up all of that. And it's suggesting things to sell you, or things you might want to be interested in. They're even developing technology that reads your brain waves. So like, they're really trying to take away freedom of choice. They're not even giving you a choice. They're trying to give total control to the government. They're trying to control your very essence, trying to control your very being checked, being monitored at all times. I mean, in the essence, we're being monitored at all times anyway. Like anything you do, I don't care if you got an incognito browser or, a VPN, all your movements are being tracked online. If you use anything digital, if you're looking something up, anything you're doing online is being monitored anyway. All your telephone conversations are being monitored. All your text messaging history monitored. When you're sending pictures back and forth, monitored. But FYI, there's no such thing as deletion. Like if you send a picture out to somebody, it's forever. Now the person you sent it to, they might not have access to it anymore if it gets deleted, but it's forever. Pictures are forever. So just, know that digital data doesn't just go away. Like that picture's out there. It still exists. It can be accessed again. It might not be able to be, the person that you sent it to might not be able to access it again, but that picture can appear somewhere online again. And the person you sent it to, they might can get it back. They can probably get it back. They can do their Googles or whatever to get all their pictures back. But it still exists. So there's no such thing as temporary anything when we're dealing with this digital technology. But why would they start in Africa? Why would they start chipping people in Africa? Why first? Well, if you chip the people there, then you control the people. Why would you want to control the Africans in Africa? What's over in Africa that you would want to seize control over? We're living in the digital information age. Everybody's wired to the internet. And what do you need to connect to the internet? You need the material for fiber optic cables. Everything you need for fiber optics is in Africa. You can't do anything digitally without fiber optic cables. Nothing. No devices will work without fiber optic cables. So that's why they would want to start chipping people in Africa. And then not just fiber optic cables, also the materials you need for microchips. That's why China's there. They also need the material, the raw material to construct microchips, because they go there and they're thinking, well, if we just come here, you know, that'll cut business expenses. If we start setting up factories here to produce the microchips, we won't have to, you know, have the material sourced all the way over here, all the way over to China. But all precious metals, all precious gemstones in Africa. You know, the Marvel universe, they said vibranium. But Africa got that uranium. They still need uranium. Abundant supplies in all the natural resources in the world. It's still the biggest, you know, supplier of all the natural resources in the world. All the natural elements, everything on the periodic table is in Africa. All the elements of the periodic table you can find in Africa. So that's why they're so fixated on shipping over there. But like I said, it has begun. So if they accept that it's going to go to Africa, and then you can bet your bottom dollar it's going to make its way to the continent of Asia, most likely Japan, and then most likely East India. And then in the UK, they'll start shipping. And of course, America will subtly try to make it like you're choosing. You know, we're going to incentivize, we're going to give you some money to get chipped. Get chipped today, like the vax. They was offering people $1,000 to get vaxxed. They'll start offering people $1,000 to get chipped. They'll be doing these, you know, suggestive commercials. You know, they try to make it seem like getting chipped is just more conventional than carrying all those different forms of ID with you in your wallet. Like, oh, hey Todd, I see you're struggling for your soul. Shh. Yeah, Molly. Why don't you get chipped? What's chipped? Do 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 do, and then the jingle music comes on. when you get chipped, so yeah, they're chipping people over in Africa, like they're rolling out the red carpet on this full steam ahead, and they're like so ecstatic about it. Like, could you just fathom if Africa just really band together and reclaim all their natural resources and start booting all these people up out of there and start closing their borders to the rest of the world? How much power they can actually have? But it seems like, again, through years of colonization, they got a really, really colonized mind in Africa. They really, really love the people that's oppressing them. They are so inviting and welcoming to outside invaders. Now, I don't got a whole lot of African friends. I don't mean to, like, that's the perspective that I'm seeing it, because it seems like everybody but our people over here in America, American blacks, is welcome in Africa. They'll welcome anybody before they welcome us. But yeah, so the chip is going down. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Well, that's it, and that's all. This weekday edition of the Narrative Podcast is officially a wrap. Join me either tomorrow or Friday for another weekday edition of the Narrative Podcast, but this weekend for a full edition, weekend edition of the Narrative Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for supporting. Download this episode of the Narrative Podcast and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast, wherever you get your podcast source from. And remember, when you're downloading it, make sure it's my Narrative Podcast, hosted by me, Halsey Allen. There are thousands of podcasts titled the Narrative Podcast, but only mine matters. Because I'm here for the people. I'm down with the people. My people, original people. Together we will change the narrative. I'm Halsey Allen. I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time. I'm asking you to help me change the narrative by becoming a narrator. And while I'm changing the narrative on my end, one episode at a time, as a narrator, you can help me change the narrative on your end, one social media post at a time. Until next time, Halsey Allen, Narrative Podcast, signing off, and it's like that.
Listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.